And just like that, the holiday season is over. It feels a little like post-vacation when you just have to go back to regular life. I find the beauty and nostalgia of November and December to be inspiring, and as we're entering January, I'm kind of wondering what's next. How can I live my life to the fullest, even in the winter lull? And how can I be inspired during the next cold and moody months before the spring returns? So, I'm having a bit of a creative block. I tend to find a lot of inspiration from the beauty around me, like the seasons, the weather, and sometimes it's just the time of year, like the holidays, which bring a lot of nostalgia and cheer. So it's been kind of difficult for me to find a lot of inspiration as we're coming into January. The days are just kind of gray, the excitement of the holidays is over, and now it's just back to regular life. And this is the time of year where I need to be setting New Year's resolutions and goals, but in all honesty, I'm just kind of not feeling it. So I kind of just want to take it one day at a time and focus on today. Okay, you're going. So I have 4 things that I just want to kind of think about that can maybe challenge me a little bit, help me to be more productive, try something new, and ultimately just push me to grow a little bit. And this can be as simple or complex as I want to make them. There's going to be some days like today where I might have a little bit more time. It's a Saturday and I want to kind of spend the day focusing on these things. But there might be a busy work day where I just want to focus on 1 or 2 things and keep it really simple. But I just want to be thinking of ways that, like I said, I can just push myself a little bit more. The 4 things that I want to think about are: 1, how can I be creative today? I really want to expand my creativity a little bit more. I have found that I consider myself to not be a very creative person, and I was talking to my husband Keegan about this a little bit. He's very creative, he's artistic, and a lot more creative than me, but he has kind of been telling me that creativity is like a muscle that needs exercised. So if I'm not pushing myself to be creative, then it's not just gonna come naturally. So I just want to challenge myself to try to be a little bit creative in my everyday life. Sometimes that's going to be actually thinking of something new, being really creative, and sometimes it's just creating and trying to incorporate art and creations into my life. The second thing is, how can I connect with the Lord today? I always want to be pushing myself in my relationship with the Lord and looking for ways that I can be connecting with Him on a deeper level, growing in my faith. This is a challenge I want to be having my entire life. What is one needed task that I have been procrastinating on that I can accomplish today? Sometimes this can just be a little thing like sweeping the floors. I've been putting that off. Or maybe it's a big task that you've been putting off for months, maybe even years. And last, but of course not least, this one's very important to me. How can I have fun today? I definitely want to focus on just finding the joy, the fun in the little things of life. Sometimes it can be planning a vacation or planning a fun little outing, but sometimes it can just be playing a game or doing something fun with your family, with your husband, whoever. It's really fun to make sure that you are taking time to find the joys of everyday life. And I think having fun with other people really kind of builds those relationships. I always think growing up, going on family vacations, playing games with my family, those kind of things brought me closer to my family, and I think it's the same way with my husband. And whenever I have a family someday with kids, I want to make sure to have fun with them. I think it all has to come in balance, but I think that having fun, and it doesn't have to be expensive or elaborate, but it's something important that should be incorporated into life. I am going to get started with my day and just be thinking on these things, and I have 4 different goals or things that I want to accomplish that kind of answers these questions and pushes me to live today to my fullest. First thing I'm focusing on today is how can I connect with the Lord? And I'm doing this first because if I can, I like to do my Bible reading, time with God, the first part of my day. It doesn't always happen like that, and it doesn't even have to be like that. Everybody's life and schedules are different, but that's really what I like. And today, since I have a little bit of extra time, I want to make it a little extra special. I've made myself a cup of tea, I have lit some candles, and I'm gonna get some instrumental worship music playing. And I don't think that you always have to have the perfect setting and like the mood set. That's definitely not what's most important. I kind of see time with the Lord as kind of like time with a friend. In one area, it's like the more time you spend together, the closer you're gonna be. And if you start to lack in that relationship and you're not spending a lot of time, then you're not going to feel as close to the friend. And in the same way, if I'm not spending as much time with the Lord, I just don't feel as connected to Him and I don't feel as close to Him. So it really is a relationship and one that you have to prioritize and set time aside for. So for my instrumental music, if this is something that's kind of distracting for you, then I definitely wouldn't play music. I do only instrumentals when I'm like reading because words can be a little bit distracting for me. I like to listen to worship music with words more throughout the day when I can sing along, but not so much for if I'm like reading or something. One thing that I found recently that I really like is the Alabaster Company, Alabaster Co. on Spotify. They have like a lot of different songs that are for different books of the Bible. I don't think they have one for every single book, but they have one for a lot of them. And just like songs for different themes, which I think is really cool, and they're just very calming and relaxing. And today I am reading out of John. So they have a Gospels Suite album, and they have one for John, so I'm going to check that one out. And the other thing I was going to say about having a special time set aside, I definitely think this isn't always super practical or necessary. Sometimes you don't have time to make it all special. And in the same way as it kind of being like a friend, I don't think that you always have to have a perfectly clean house or a perfect environment to chat with a friend or spend time with them. And I also think it's more important just to be getting in the Word and spending time with the Lord. And even if your house is a mess and you can't make it super special, I don't think that that's really what's important. But I do think it's really fun to take a little extra time and make it really extra special when you can. I love doing that with friends. Just sometimes it's fun to have a really fancy day or just a certain theme, and in the same way, I think it's fun every once in a while to make this time with the Lord really extra special and just set apart time with Him. So one thing that I am doing is I'm going to try to start prayer journaling a little bit. I did this very consistently during a season of my life, but it did happen to be one of the hardest seasons of my life that I've ever walked through, but it was so good and so healing and so just awesome to look back on and see the way that the Lord brought me through that time and to see how that He has answered those prayers. And I really want to get back into it because I think sometimes we pray a lot of prayers, but then we can even forget how the Lord has answered them. So having kind of this journal to be able to look back on is just so cool, and it's another way to kind of connect with the Lord on a different way and kind of another way to pray and talk to the Lord. So I really like that, and it also kind of helps me to stay focused during prayer time because sometimes when I'm praying I can get distracted. So I want to try to do that a little bit more this year. I don't know that I'll do it every day, but as much as possible. And besides reading my Bible, I want to start going through this book that Keegan's grandma actually gave me for Christmas. It's called Beholding and Becoming: The Art of Everyday Worship by Ruth Cho Simons. Not sure how you say the author's name, but I have kind of been thinking about what I want my word for this year to be, and the one that kind of came to me was worship. And this book is actually all about worship, and that's kind of what inspired this word a little bit. I just feel like it's an area of my life that I want to focus a little bit more on. Worshiping more in my prayer life, in my everyday life, and seeing the beauty around me, having a thankful heart, and just making sure that I'm taking the time to glorify my Creator and worship Him, because that's ultimately what our purpose is. And on the other side of this, it's thinking about ways that I am worshiping other things, that I have false idols, things that I'm putting before the Lord in my life, and cutting those things out if necessary. So something that I just want to be thinking on this year, and kind of prioritizing worship to the Lord. Should always be a priority, but I think it's something that I want to specifically be thinking about. With all of that being said, I'm gonna start my music and start reading and journaling, spending a little bit of time with the Lord, just connecting with Him. I'm really excited to make this time really special. This is definitely such a fruitful thing to do. I think it's something that should get us excited every day. Okay, so the next thing is, what can I do that is creative today? And what I've decided to do is something that I have really loved, and it is going to be my third time doing it, and it is making homemade candles. I love doing this because, for one, it is way easier than I expected it to be. I think as long as you follow the directions, like, anybody could do it. I got all of the things that I needed from Amazon. I'll link them down below in case this inspires you to make them as well. And you can also get really creative with the vessels that you use, and I really like either reusing a vessel or thrifting one, and I'll show you what I got to use as my vessel. These cute little vintage teacups. How cute. And you can't just like buy stuff like this, which makes it really fun to make. I had 2 other ones that I made and gifted, and so I still had 2 left over. Another thing is you're using the ingredients that you want to use, so you can make it exactly the scent that you want, and you can also make it really clean and non-toxic, which I love. I use a beeswax pellet. These are organic, filtered, all that good stuff. This is my favorite to use, but you could also use, like, soy is another good safe wax to use for candles. One thing that I love to use as well is wood wicks. For one, they're just so nice. They crackle, and I just love the vibes of the wood wick candles. And another thing is when you're making them, they're a little simpler because they just stand straight up, whereas a regular wick, you would have to like get something to hold it straight so it doesn't like fall over, if that makes sense. And the scent that I'm using is a blend. I got this woody blend off of Amazon, and it just has like pine, what all does it have in it? Pine, cedar wood, orange. But I like to blend it with the Thieves, the Young Living Thieves oil, because this adds like a little bit of spiciness to the woody blend, and I just think that they smell really good paired together. With that being said, let's get started making the candles. Okay, I don't have a double boiler, so I'm just using a big pot to bring to a boil to add my wax melting pan to, and it'll just kind of work as a double boiler. So that's a really easy alternative. Another thing that I want to mention is I kind of have a specific pan and spoon that I use just for candle making, because it's honestly a little bit hard to wash. I think it can be done, but I would just recommend not using one of your nice pans or spoons. So I have this one that my sister gave me that she didn't want, and then I just have an old wooden spoon. So I'm going to add my wax pellets to that and then add it to the water as it boils, and then just keep stirring as it melts. One ingredient I forgot to mention is a little bit of coconut oil that I'm adding in right as it comes off of the boiler. Fun fact, the coconut oil is there to help the beeswax to burn a little bit slower. Next, I'm going to add in my scents. I want to do it while it's still melted and hot. One tip is if you're using essential oils, you have to do a lot more than you think. Every time that I have made candles, they have never smelled as strong as I would like them to. In fact, I could barely smell them. So when you're making it, it smells super strong because the wax is completely melted, so you're smelling all of the scent at once. So it's like, wow, that smells good, or that smells like a lot. But in reality, you're only going to be like melting little bits of the wax at once, so you're not going to have as strong of a scent, if that makes sense. So obviously don't go crazy, and if you don't like a lot of scent, then do as much as you're comfortable with. But I'm going to try to add just slightly more than maybe I would think. Okay, so if you have like a pitcher or something that you wouldn't mind using, or something old, you could pour it into there, and then it'll be a little bit easier to pour into whatever vessel you're using. I don't have one that I want to give up, so I'm just kind of risking it and pouring it directly from the pot into my little teacups, but maybe not the safest option. I will do it over my sink though, so it will make as little of a mess as possible. As you can see, it does make a little bit of a mess, so I'm glad I did it in my sink. I'll just wait for the mess to kind of like harden back up, and then I can just kind of put like a little scraper under it and just pick it up and throw it away. That's how you make candles, and it's super fun. It's kind of becoming a new little hobby of mine, and it's a fun thing to gift to others or just add a little decor around your home. I made a couple of these as Christmas gifts. I don't know if I already mentioned that, but it was just really fun to make something handmade. Here's the candle, by the way, which I'll kind of have to clean up a little bit on the sides where it dripped, but thankfully it's pretty easy because it just kind of hardens up and you can just pick it off. And then once it's completely hardened, I will just snip the wick to where I want it. You have a cute little teacup candle. Next up, something that I have been procrastinating on that I can accomplish. So if you've been following us, you know that we just moved into this house this past summer, and we spent months unpacking. It's quite the process, one that I was not completely prepared for, but it takes a while. Towards the end of it, we were having like a housewarming party, so I just wanted to quickly make things kind of cute and not messy. So the rest that we had left to unpack, we just kind of, Keegan, we can see you in the background in the mirror. Anyways, the rest that we hadn't unpacked yet, we just stuffed into the attic to deal with later. Well, it's been several months later and we have not dealt with it. And I feel like there's been several things that I've just been like, I wonder where that is. Probably in the attic, but I've just kind of avoided going up there. You'll probably know why when you see it, but today I just want to kind of start going through our attic a little bit and getting things that we need, maybe even throwing out some things that I'm like, we've lived months without it, we probably don't need it. So this one's not going to be very cute or fun, but much needed, and I'm kind of excited to maybe find some treasures that I forgot I had. Welcome to the garage. And this rickety ladder leading up to our attic. Can't wait to go up there. Welcome to the attic.
The butterfly plates I've been looking for.
Been wondering where this was. Beeswax wrap. I had gotten it gifted to me and never used it, but it's like reusable saran wrap kind of. I couldn't find it. What do you know? And bamboo mason jar lids. Was just wanting some for the jar that I'm using for my sourdough starter. It's like Christmas all over again. Okay, I have dressed up a little bit for my little something fun. Let me show you my outfit. I have this thrifted linen dress paired with this warm blazer coat from Target. This coat has been a favorite of mine lately just because it's just a little bit more formal, and I feel like up until now I only had like puffer jackets, which are great and warm, but if you want something a little fancier and something that actually adds to your outfit instead of taking away, this is perfect. So for my something fun, Keegan and I are going on a little date night. We're going to a local Scottish restaurant. It's kind of like European vibes, called the Scottish Thistle. Has really good comfort food. And then afterwards, we are going to go see the new movie, shoot, what's it called? Migration. I just remembered what the movie was called. And we're gonna meet up with my sister and her husband and maybe one other couple friend and go see that movie together. It's like an animated movie, kind of more fun, funny, and lighthearted, so should be a good time. I'm really excited. I don't know how much I'm gonna film, but I will put the little bit of footage that I get here. Well, joke's on me, because this video about not being inspired, having creative block, and feeling a little bit burnout ended up actually being what kind of inspired me and what actually got me kind of excited about 2024. And I feel like I am excited to see the growth that happens and just see where life takes us, and I hope that I can strive to be more creative, grow in my relationship with the Lord, and hopefully be a little bit more productive this year. So I hope that this maybe inspired you a little bit and gave you a little encouragement for the upcoming year. If you enjoyed it, please like it and leave a comment down below, and be sure to subscribe if you're not already. I would really appreciate it. It really means a lot. So until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye!